biodiversity in the living world. If you look around, you will see a large variety of living organisms, but it plotted plants, insects, birds, your pets, or other animals and plants. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eyes, but they are all around you. You know where to increase the area that you make observation in. The range and variety of organisms that you see would increase. Obviously, if you were to visit a deciduous forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organisms in it. Each different kind of plants, animals, or organisms that you see represent a species. The number of species that you know and describe ranged between 1.7 to 1.8 million. These refer to biodiversity, or the number and type of organism present on Earth. We should remember here that as we explore new area and even old one, new organisms are continuously being identified. Para contain important points. Number of species that are known and described ranged between 1.7 to 1.8 million in biodiversity. As stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. You know the plants and animals in our own area by their local names. These local names would vary from place to place. Even within a country, probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find a way and means to talk to each other to refer to organisms we are talking about. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organism such that particular organism is known by same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible with the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is identification. Para contain important points. Particular organism is known by same name all over the world, called nomenclature. Organism is described correctly, known identification. In order to filtrate the study, number of scientists have established producers to assign a scientific name to known organisms. This is accepted to biologists all over the world. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria which are provided in International Code of Botanical Nomenclature (ICBN). You may ask, how are animals named? Animal taxonomists have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature (ICZN). These scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the place in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other kind of organism. Para contain important points. Plant scientific name provide in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature (ICBN). Animal taxonomists have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. They ensure such that name has not been used for any other known organism. Biologists follow universal accepted principles to provide scientific names to known organisms. Each name has two components, the generic name and specific epithet. This system of providing a name with two components is called binomenclature. This naming system given by Carl Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. This naming system used a two-word factor was found convenient. Let us take the example of mango to understand the way of. Para contain important points. Each name has two components, generic name and specific epithet. Two components is called binomenclature. System given by scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Let us see how it is a binomial name. In this name, Mangifera represents the genus, while Indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. First, biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. Second, first word in a biological name represents the genus, while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Third, both the words in a biological name with handwritten are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. Fourth, first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. It can be illustrated with the example of Mangifera indica. Name of the author appear after the specific epithet. It means at the end of the biological name and is written in an abbreviated form. Example, Mangifera indica Linn. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. Para contain important points. Mangifera indica, binomial name. Mangifera genus, indica species. Universal rule of nomenclature. First, biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. Second, first word of biological name represent the genus, while second component represent the specific epithet. Third, both of the word in a biological name when handwritten are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. Fourth, the first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. It can be illustrated with an example of Mangifera indica. Name of author appear after the specific epithet, written in an appropriate form. Example, Mangifera indica Linn. Since it is nearly impossible to study all the living organisms, it is necessary to derive some means to make this possible. This process is classification. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observed characters. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants and animals of dogs, cats, or insects. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters with organisms in the group. What image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of us will see dog and not cats. Now, if we were think of also things as known what we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we are to say mammals, you would of course think of animals with external ears and body hairs. Likewise, in plants, if we try to talk of wheat, the picture is each of our mind will be the wheat plant, not of rice or any other plant. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc. are convenient categories we use to study organisms. The scientific term for these category is taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at very different levels. Plant also form taxa. Wheat is also a taxa. Similarly, animals, mammals, dogs are also taxa. But you know that a dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Therefore, mammals and dogs represent taxa at different levels. Para contain important points. The scientific term for this category is taxa. Taxa can indicate categories at very different levels. Hence, based on categories, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. This process of classification is taxonomy. External and internal structure, along with the structure of cell, develop processes and ecological information of organism are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic study. Hence, characterization, identification, classification and nomenclature are the processes that are based on taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have also been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organisms. practically with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings needed to find source for their basic needs of food, clothing and shelter. Hence, earliest classification were based on uses of various organisms. Para contain important points. Based on characteristics, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa, called taxonomy. External and internal structure, along with the structure of cell, development, processes and ecological informations of organisms are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic study. Characterization, identification, classification and nomenclature are the processes that are based on taxonomy. Human beings were seen long not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationship among them. This branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematics is derived from Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature and classification. System takes into account evolutionary relationship between organisms. Para contain important points. Human being not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, also relationship among them. Branch of study was referred to as systematics. Word systematics derived from Latin word systema, means systematic arrangements of organisms, given by Linnaeus. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae in his publication. Systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature and classification. Systematic takes into account evolutionary relationship between these. Classification is not a single step process but involves hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Since category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called as taxonomic categories, and all the categories together constituent the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category referred to as a unit of classification, in fact, represent a rank and is commonly termed as taxon. Para contain important points. Rank or category. Category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement. It is called as taxonomic categories, and all categories together constituent the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category referred to as a unit of classification represent a rank and commonly termed as taxon. Taxonomic category and hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insects represent a group of organisms sharing common features like 3 pair jointed legs. It means insects are recognizable concerned object which one be classified and thus were given a rank or category. Can you name other such group of organisms? Remember, group represent categories. Categories further denotes rank. Each rank or taxon, in fact, represent a unit of classification. These taxonomic group categories are distinct biological entities and not merely morphological aggregates. Para contain important points. Group represent categories. Categories further denotes rank. Each rank or taxon. Taxonomical studies of all known organisms have led to the development of common categories such as kingdom, phylum or division for plants, classes, order, family, genus and species. All organisms, including those in the plant and animal kingdoms, have species as the lowest category. Now the question you may ask is how to place an organism in various categories. The basic requirement is the knowledge of categories of an individual or group of organisms. This helps in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individual of the same kind of organism as well as other kind of organism. Para contain important points. Categories such as kingdom, phylum or division for plants, classes, order, family, genus, and species. Species. Taxonomic studies consider a group of individual organisms with fundamental similarities as species. One should be able to distinguish one species from the other closely related species based on distinct morphological difference. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum tuberosum, potato, and Panthera leo, lion. All the three names, indica, tuberosum, and lion, represent the specific epithets, while the first word Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera are genera and represent other higher level of taxon or category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithet representing different organisms but having morphological similarities. For example, Panthera has another specific epithet called tigrus, and Solanum, including species like Nigrum and Melaganella. Human being belongs to species sapien, which is grouped in genus Homo. The specific scientific name and thus for human being is written as Homo sapien. Para contain important points. A group of individual organisms with fundamental similarities as a species. Mangifera indica, Solanum tuberosum, potato, and Panthera leo, lion. Indica, tuberosum, and leo represent specific epithet. Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera are genera. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithet representing different groups but having morphological similarities. Like Panthera contain tigrus, Solanum contain Nigrum and Melaganella. Human being scientific name Homo sapien. Genus. Genus compressed a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison to species of other genera. We can say that genera are aggregated of closely related species. For example, potato and brinjal are two different species but both belongs to genus Solanum. Lion, Panthera leo, leopard, Panthera pardus, and tiger, Panthera tigris, with several common features, are all species of genus Panthera. These genus differ from another genus Felis, which include cats. Para contain important points. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison of species of other genera. Genera are aggregated of closely related species. Genus Solanum, lion, Panthera leo, leopard, Panthera pardus, and tiger, Panthera tigris, belongs to Panthera genus. Felis, which includes cats. Family. The next category, family, has a group of related genera with a still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of plant species. Among plants, for example, three different genera, Solanum, Petunia, and Datura, are placed in family Solanaceae. Among animals, for example, genus Panthera, compressing lion, tiger, leopard, is put along with genus Felis, cat, in the family Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the feature of a cat and a dog, you will find some similarities and some difference as well. They are separated into two different families, Felidae and Canidae respectively. Para contain important points. Family has a group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of plant species. Solanum, Petunia, and Datura are placed in the family Solanaceae. Genus Panthera, compressing lion, tiger, leopard. Felis, cat, in the family of Felidae. Cats and dogs are separated into two different families. Earlier that categories like species, genus, and families are based on number of similar characters. Generally, order and other higher taxonomic categories are identified based on aggregates of character. Order, being a higher character, is the assemblage of families which exhibit a few similar characters. The similar characters are less in number as compressed to different genera, including in a family. Plant family like Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae are included in the order Polymunals, mainly based on the floral character. The animal order Carnivora include family like Felidae and Conidae. Para contain important points. Order and other higher taxonomic characters are identified based on aggregates of characters. Order being a higher character assemblage of families which exhibit a few similar characters, like plant family like Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae are included in the order Polymunals, mainly based on floral character. Animal order Carnivora include family like Felidae and Canidae. Class. This category includes a related order. For example, order Primata comprising monkey, gorilla, gibbons is placed in class Mammalia, along with order Carnivora that includes animals like tiger, cats and dog. Class Mammalia has other order also. Para contain important points. Categories including related order. Order Primata comprising monkey, gorilla and gibbons is placed in class Mammalia, along with order Carnivora that includes animals like tiger, cats and dog. Phylum. Classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals consisting the next higher categories like phylum. All these based on common features like presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neutral system are included in phylum Chordata. In case of plants, classes with a few similar characters are assigned to higher characters like division. Para contain important points. Classes comprises animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals. Based on the common features like presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural system are included in phylum Chordata. Plants, classes with a few similar characters are assigned to higher categories called division. Kingdom. All the animals belong to various phyla are assigned to the highest categories called kingdom Animalia. In the classification system of animals, the kingdom Plantae on the other hand is distinct and comprises all the plants from various divisions. Hence, further we will refer to these two groups as animal and plant kingdom. The taxonomic categories for species to kingdom have been shown as ascending order starting with species. In figure 1.1, taxonomic categories showing hierarchical arrangement in ascending order. Kingdom, phylum or division, class, order, family, genus. Trick to remember. King Philip, come over for green soup. King Philip, come over for green soup. These are broad categories. However, taxonomists have also developed subcategories in this hierarchy to filtrate more sound and scientific placement of various taxa. Para contain important points. Species to kingdom. Ascending order starts with the species. Broad categories. Taxonomists have also developed subcategories in this hierarchy to filtrate more sound and scientific placement of various taxa. Look at the hierarchy in figure 1.1. Can you recall the basis of arrangement? Say, for example, as we grow higher from species to kingdom, the number of common characters goes on decreasing. Lower the taxa, more are the characteristics that the members with the taxon share. Higher the categories, greater is the difficulty of determining the relationship to other taxa at the same level. Hence, the problem of classification become more complex. Para contain important points. We go higher from species to kingdom. The number of common character goes on decreasing. Lower the taxa, more are the characters that the members within the taxon share. Higher the character, greater is the difficulty of determining the relationship to other taxa at the same level. Hence, the problem of classification become more complex. Table 1.1. Indicate the taxonomic characters to which some common organisms like honeybee, mango and wheat belong. Table 1.1. Organisms with their taxonomic categories. First, man. Biological name Homo sapiens. Genus Homo. Family Hominidae. Order Primata. Class Mammalia. Phylum Chordata. Housefly. Biological name Mosca domestica. Genus Mosca. Family Mosquidae. Order Diptera. Class Insecta. Phylum Arthropoda. Mango. Biological name Mangifera indica. Genus Mangifera. Family Oncardiaceae. Order Spendulus. Class Dicotyledon. Division Angiosperm. Wheat. Biological name Triticum aestivum. Genus Triticum. Family Peals. Order Tolls. Class Monocotyledon. Division Angiosperm. Whole table is most important. Taxonomic aids. Taxonomic studies of various species of plants and animals, other organisms are useful in agriculture, forestry, industry, and in general in knowing our bioresources and their diversity. These studies would require correct classification and identification of organism. Identification of organism required extensive laboratory and field studies. The collection of actual specimens of plants and animal species is essential and is the prime source of taxonomic studies. These are also fundamentals to study and essential for training in systematics. It is used for classification of an organism, and the information gathered is also stored along with the specimens. In some cases, the specimens is preserved for future studies. Biologists have illustrated certain procedures and techniques to store and preserve the information as well as specimens. Some of these are explained to help you understand the usage of these aids. Para contain important points. The collection of actual specimens of plants and animal species is essential and is the prime source of taxonomic studies. Specimens is preserved for future study. Herbarium. Herbarium is a storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed and preserved on sheet. Further, these sheets are arranged according to universal accepted system of classification. These specimens, along with their description on herbarium sheet, become a storehouse or responsible for future use. The herbarium sheet are carried a label providing information according date and place of collection, English, local and botanical name, family, collector's name, etc. Herbarium also serves as a quick reference system of taxonomic studies. Para contain important points. Herbarium is a storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed and preserved on sheet. Sheets are arranged according to their universal accepted system of classification. Storehouse are restored for future uses. Herbarium sheet also carry a label providing information about date and place of collection, English, local and botanical names, family, collector's name, etc. Herbarium also serves as a quick reference system in taxonomical study. Botanical garden. This specialized garden have collection of living plants for reference. Plant species in this garden are grown for identification purpose and each plant is labeled indicating its binomial or scientific name and its family. The famous botanical garden are at Kew, England, Indian Botanical Garden, Howrah, India, and at National Botanical Research Institute, Lucknow, India. Para contain important points. Specialized garden have collection of living plants for reference. Each plant is labeled indicating its botanical scientific name and its family. Famous botanical garden are at Kew, England, Indian Botanical Garden, Howrah, India, and National Botanical Research Institute, Lucknow, India. Museum. Biological museum are generally set up of educational institute such as schools and college. Museum have collection of preserved plants and animal specimens for studies and reference. Specimens are preserved in the container or jar in preserving solution. Plants and animal specimens may also be preserved as a dry specimens. Insects are preserved in insect box after collecting, killing and pinning. Larger animals like plants and mammals are usually stuffed and preserved. Museum often have collection of skeleton of animals too. Para contain important points. Museum generally set up of educational institutes. Museums have collection of preserved plants and animal specimens for study and reference. Specimens are preserved in the container or jar in preservative solution. Also, be preserved as a dry specimens. Insects are preserved in insect box after collecting, killing and pinning. Larger animals like birds and mammals are usually stuffed and preserved. Museums often have collection of skeleton of animals too. These are the place where wild animals are kept in protected environment under human care and which enable us to learn about their food, habit and behavior. All animals in a zoo are provided as far as possible their conditions similar to their natural habits. Children love visiting these parks, commonly called zoos. Para contain important points. Wild animals are kept in protected environment under human care, which enable us to learn about their food habit and behavior. Key. It is another taxonomical aid used for identification of plants and animals based on similarities and dissimilarities. The key are based on the contrasting characters, generally in a pair called couplet. It represents the choice made between two opposite options. This results in acceptance of only one and rejection of the other. Each statement in the key is called a lead. Separate taxonomic key are required for each taxonomic category such as family, genus and species. For identification purpose, key are generally analytical in nature. Para contain important points. Key is another taxonomical aid used for identification of plants and animals based on similarities and dissimilarities. Key are based on the constructing characters, generally in a pair called couplet. It represents the choice made between two opposite options. This results in acceptance of only one and rejection of the other. Each statement in the key is called a lead. Separate taxonomic key are required for each taxonomic character such as family, genus and species for identification purpose. Keys are generally analytical in nature. Flora manual, monograms and catalogs are some other means of recording distinctions. They also help in correct identification. Flora contain the actual account of habit and distribute of plants of a given area. These provide the index of the plant species found in a particular area. Manuals are useful in providing information for identification of names of species found in an area. Monograms contain information of any one taxon. Para contain important points. Flora manual, monograms and catalogs are some other means of recording descriptions. They also help in correct identification. Flora contain the actual account of habits and distribution of plants of a given area. This provides the index of plant species found in a particular area. Manuals are helpful in providing information for identification of name of species found in an area. Monogram contain information on any one taxon.